The hidden armada. The observation deck of Orbital Station Artemis offered what Commander Vance Riker considered the most sobering view in the solar system. Earth hung below, a fragile blue marble wrapped in the artificial constellation of defense platforms, officially labeled weather monitoring stations in all public documentation. He ran a hand through his salt and pepper hair, the reflection in the reinforced glass showing the grim expression he couldn't shake. "Status report on the Hegemony fleet?" he asked, not turning from the view. Lieutenant Commander Asher stepped forward, her uniform crisp despite the 18-hour shift. 37 vessels holding position at the edge of lunar orbit, sir. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. They're making no effort to conceal their capabilities. They want us intimidated, Riker said. Any response to our communication attempts? Just the same automated message. The Galactic Hegemony demands Earth's immediate surrender and integration, with relinquishment of all military assets and acceptance of their governance structure. Riker's jaw tightened. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago, cautiously exploring nearby systems while maintaining a low profile. First contact happened 5 years after that. The initial exchanges with alien races had been tentative but promising, with trade agreements established and cultural exchanges initiated. Then the Hegemony noticed them. The emergency transmission had come 3 days ago. An alliance of 7 technologically advanced species that govern most of the known galaxy had issued their ultimatum. Earth could join as a protectorate species with severely limited rights or face preemptive pacification. What the Hegemony didn't know, what Riker had dedicated his career to ensuring they wouldn't know, was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. "Inform the Security Council I'm implementing TESEUS protocol," Riker said, turning from the viewport. "Code Omega-7. Lieutenant Commander Asher's eyes widened. "Sir, that requires presidential authorization, which I received 30 minutes ago," Riker cut in. "They're evacuating critical personnel to the Karen facility now. We have less than 2 hours before the Hegemony loses patience." The conference room buzzing with activity fell silent as Riker entered. Representatives from 17 nations looked up from their terminals, faces drawn with tension. "The Hegemony has issued their final warning," Riker announced. "They've detected unusual energy spikes from our lunar facilities and demand access for inspection." Director Chen of the Pan-Asian Coalition stood. "We can't reveal the quantum fold technology. If they discover what we've accomplished, they'll realize we've been feigning technological inferiority since first contact," Riker finished. "I know, but we're out of time for deception. Defense grid to Condition 1. Activate the Ghost Fleet." Across the solar system, hidden installations hummed to life. Beneath the ice sheets of Europa, inside hollowed-out asteroids, and within the storm clouds of Jupiter, humanity's true military might emerge from years of secrecy. On the bridge of the Hegemony flagship Inevitable Dominance, Overseer Kavex watched the primitive human orbital stations with contempt. His segmented exoskeleton gleamed under the command deck lighting as he turned to his second. "The humans think their pitiful defenses can withstand us," he said, mandibles clicking in amusement. "Their species has barely crawled from their atmosphere, and already they refuse the honor of Hegemony protection." "Overseer," the sensor officer interrupted, compound eyes pulsing with concern. "We're detecting spatial anomalies throughout the system, energy patterns consistent with advanced fold technology." "Impossible," Kavex hissed. "Their technological development is centuries from achieving." The vacuum of space rippled as though reality itself was being peeled back. Where there had been nothing, massive silhouettes materialized, sleek obsidian vessels with pulsing blue energy lines tracing their hulls. One by one, over 300 warships dropped their quantum camouflage. "Hegemony Fleet," Commander Riker's voice transmitted across all frequencies. "This is the Terran Defense Initiative. Your vessels have violated sovereign human space. The terms of your ultimatum are rejected." On the screens within Artemis Station, The Ghost Fleet took formation. Ships that had been constructed in absolute secrecy, incorporating technologies humanity had developed while projecting an image of cosmic naivety to the galaxy. By the progenitors, whispered a hegemony officer. Their ships bear void drive signatures. They've mastered quantum probability manipulation. Covex's posture stiffened. Open fire. Destroy their command stations before they can coordinate. Energy weapons lanced out from the hegemony vessels, streaking toward Earth's orbital platforms. Before they could connect, shimmering barriers of distorted spacetime intercepted them, absorbing the destructive force and dispersing it harmlessly. Phase 2, Riker ordered. Smaller human vessels accelerated at impossible speeds, their hulls briefly glowing with Cherenkov radiation as they employed principles of physics the hegemony had believed unknown to humanity. They moved in precise formations, targeting propulsion and weapons systems with surgical precision. Within minutes, 7 hegemony ships had been disabled without being destroyed, a demonstration of restraint and capability that sent a clear message. All hegemony vessels, stand down, Riker transmitted. We have no desire for conflict, but we will not surrender our sovereignty. Your damaged ships will be permitted to withdraw once we've established terms. On the observation deck of a medical transport, a young woman watched the unfolding battle with different eyes than most. Zara Novak saw beyond the physical, perceiving the quantum probability fields manipulated by both fleets. Half human from her father's side, her mother's Elysian heritage gave her perception beyond normal human senses. They're underestimating us even now, she murmured, fingers tracing patterns in the air as she analyzed the hegemony formations. They can't believe a primitive species achieved this level of technology independently. The medical ship's captain approached her. The commander wants you on Artemis immediately. Your insight into hegemony psychology could be critical for the negotiations. Zara nodded, still watching the disabled alien vessels. The hegemony doesn't negotiate with what they consider lesser species. This is just the opening move in a longer game. 20 hours later, Commander Riker stood in Artemis Station's diplomatic chamber, facing the hegemony representative who had been shuttled over from their flagship. Ambassador Telex was a Meridian, his translucent skin revealing the complex circulatory system beneath, pulsing with luminescent fluid that changed colors with his emotional state, currently a deep, angry purple. Your deception violates all principles of civilized first contact, the ambassador said, his translated voice artificially modulated to express indignation. The hegemony welcomed humanity to the galactic community, offered protection and guidance, and you responded with treachery. Riker maintained a neutral expression. The hegemony arrived in our system with a battle fleet and demanded our surrender. That's not an introduction, it's an invasion. You've hidden your true technological development level. That alone justifies our intervention. We observe your interactions with other protectorate species before revealing ourselves, Riker countered. The Talaxians, the Vordag colony, both reduced to resource extraction operations after submitting to hegemony protection. We chose a different path. The ambassador's circulatory fluid flashed red. Your species cannot hope to stand against the full might of the hegemony. What you've witnessed is merely an exploratory force. From the side of the room, Zara stepped forward. Ambassador Telex, your autonomic responses indicate you're not merely angry, you're afraid. The Hegemony Council didn't authorize you to find an independent, technologically advanced species, did they? Especially one that has developed quantum-fold technology without hegemony oversight. Telex's skin briefly turned transparent with shock before he regained composure. Who is this half-breed who dares speak during formal diplomatic exchange? My name is Zora Novak, she said calmly. My mother was Elysian, one of the species your hegemony classified as research subjects rather than sentient beings deserving of rights. Riker watched the exchange with interest. Zara's unique perspective had proven invaluable during their preparations for first contact. The Elysians' natural ability to perceive quantum probabilities had made them targets for hegemony experimentation. Most had been thought extinct. Ambassador, Riker redirected. We're transmitting terms for your withdrawal. The human fleet will escort your vessels to the system boundary. In exchange for our assistance with repairs, the hegemony will acknowledge Earth's sovereign status and our right to independent development. This is merely postponing the inevitable, Telex said. The hegemony has ruled this sector for millennia. Your defiance will not be forgotten. Neither will your aggression, Riker replied. But perhaps both can be transcended. Humanity doesn't seek conflict. We seek partnership with those who respect our autonomy. As the ambassador was escorted out, Zara turned to Riker. He'll report back that we're dangerous. They'll return with a larger force. Riker nodded. I'm counting on it. But by then, word of what happened here will have spread through their protectorate worlds. The myth of hegemony invincibility will be cracked. He looked out at the stars beyond the station. And we'll be ready for Phase 3. The Ghost Fleet maintained formation as the damaged hegemony vessels limped toward the jump point, their once proud silhouettes now diminished. On the bridge of the TDI flagship Prometheus, Admiral Helena Vos watched them go. Send word to the Mars colonies, she ordered. Operation Lighthouse begins immediately. It's time for humanity to make some friends out there. As the last hegemony ship disappeared in a flash of displaced spacetime, the first chapter in humanity's true emergence onto the galactic stage came to a close. The next would be written among distant stars, where the ripples of today's revelation were already spreading. Defiance among the stars. 3 weeks after the hegemony's retreat from Earth, Commander Vance Riker stood on the bridge of the TDI Prometheus, watching the holographic display of known space. Dozens of illuminated points represented systems where the Ghost Fleet had deployed diplomatic teams, reaching out to species that had been subjugated or marginalized by the hegemony. The Arcturian League has agreed to meet, reported Admiral Vought, joining him at the display. They've been under hegemony resource quotas for centuries, practically enslaved to extract rare metals for their shipyards. Riker nodded. And the hegemony. Marshaling their forces at Proxima Centauri. Intelligence suggests they're gathering a fleet 3 times the size of what we faced at Earth. They're calling in vessels from across their territory. Good, Riker said. That's thinning their presence elsewhere, creating opportunities for our diplomats. Admiral Vos raised an eyebrow. You wanted them to amass at Proxima. I want them to commit everything to crushing us quickly, Riker explained. It means they're afraid, not just of our technology, but of what our existence represents to their subject worlds. On the tactical deck below, Zora Novak worked with a team of analysts, mapping quantum probability corridors that could give the human fleet tactical advantages in the coming conflict. Her Elysian heritage allowed her to see patterns others couldn't, translating theoretical physics into practical navigation routes. Commander, she called up. We've identified a fold space anomaly near Proxima that could give us an advantage. It's a natural phenomenon, something the hegemony ships would avoid as unstable, but we could use it to outmaneuver them. Riker joined her at the station, studying the swirling quantum topography on her screen. Will our ship's structural integrity hold through that turbulence? The Prometheus can manage it, Zora confirmed, and 5 others. We'd need to modify their fold generators to accommodate the fluctuation patterns. Their conversation was interrupted by an incoming transmission. The main screen activated to show the imperious face of Supreme Overseer Tholak, the highest hegemony authority in this sector of space. Commander Riker, the Overseer began without preamble, his translator converting the complex harmonics of his native speech. Your species' rebellion has caused significant disruption to galactic order. However, the hegemony is prepared to show unprecedented leniency. Riker maintained a neutral expression. We're listening, Overseer. Surrender your full technology and the engineers who developed it. Accept limited hegemony oversight of your further development. In exchange, Earth will be granted Class 3 autonomy. higher status than any newly contacted species in hegemony history. And if we decline, the overseer's multiple eyes narrowed. Then we will be forced to make an example of your system. The hegemony has maintained peace for 12,000 years by ensuring that defiance is not a viable option. After the transmission ended, Admiral Vos turned to Riker. He's trying to drive a wedge between Earth's leadership, offering terms that might tempt those frightened by the prospect of full-scale war, while gathering an overwhelming force to destroy us if we refuse. Riker added, "Classic hegemony tactics according to the records we've accessed from their former subjects." "Sir," Zara interrupted, her eyes unfocused as she processed quantum data. "Something's wrong with their deployment pattern. The probability field around their fleet shows fragmentation inconsistent with their usual formations." Riker studied the tactical display. "They're divided. Some factions within the hegemony must be questioning the wisdom of committing so many resources to crushing us. Or they're setting a trap," Admiral Vos cautioned. Either way, Riker decided, it's time to implement Odysseus Protocol. Prepare the fleet for quantum fold. We're taking the fight to them before they're fully assembled. 48 hours later, the human fleet materialized at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. The hegemony forces were still arriving, their massive carriers deploying fighter screens in standard defensive formations. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Riker watched as the enemy reacted to their arrival, scrambling to reorganize their partially deployed forces. "They didn't expect us to strike first," Admiral Vos observed. "The hegemony is accustomed to opponents who wait in defensive positions. Humanity has always understood the value of initiative," Riker replied. "All ships execute maneuver Theta 9. Target propulsion and communication systems only." The Ghost Fleet split into 3 battle groups, employing formations that exploited gaps in the hegemony's sensor coverage. Human vessels phased in and out of conventional space, appearing where the enemy least expected them. In the navigation center, Zara directed quantum fold jumps with unprecedented precision, her mind perceiving pathways through space-time that conventional computers couldn't calculate. Under her guidance, human ships performed micro-jumps that placed them within the hegemony formation, disrupting their coordinated defense. "Multiple hegemony vessels are powering down weapons systems," reported the tactical officer. They're requesting parley." Riker frowned. "This easily? Something's not right." On her station, Zara suddenly gasped. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy buildup from the hegemony flagship. They're channeling power to some kind of superweapon. All ships, emergency fold. Pattern Epsilon," Riker ordered. The human fleet vanished seconds before a devastating wave of energy erupted from the hegemony command vessel, rippling through space where they had been positioned. As the energy dissipated, the Ghost Fleet reappeared in a completely different formation. "Analysis?" Riker demanded. "Quantum destabilizer," Zara reported. "Designed to disrupt the probability fields our technology depends on. If we'd been caught in that, our ships would have been stranded in normal space, vulnerable to conventional weapons." Riker's expression hardened. "They've been developing countermeasures since our first encounter, targeted specifically against our technology." "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving transmissions from multiple sources within the hegemony fleet. They're arguing among themselves. Some captains are refusing orders to employ the destabilizer weapon." "Put it on speaker." The bridge filled with translated alien voices, overlapping in heated debate. Violation of the Treaty of Seven Suns. Disproportionate response to a species defending its sovereignty. Council was not consulted on the deployment of prohibited technologies. Admiral Vos looked at Riker. "The hegemony isn't as unified as they want us to believe." "No empire ever is," Riker replied. "Lieutenant, open a channel to the entire hegemony fleet." When the connection was established, Riker spoke with measured confidence. "Attention hegemony forces. Your leadership has deployed a weapon prohibited by your own laws. The same laws they claim to enforce throughout the galaxy. We came prepared for battle, but instead offer an alternative. He nodded to Zara, who transmitted data packets throughout the enemy fleet. We're sending evidence of hegemony exploitation of 27 sentient species, resource quotas that have caused planetary famines. Protectorate worlds stripped of resources and abandoned. This is not the peace you claim to uphold. On the tactical display, nearly a third of the hegemony vessels were breaking formation, moving away from their command ships. We don't seek to destroy the hegemony, Riker continued. But the era of unchallenged dominance is over. Humanity extends an invitation to all species who desire cooperative relationships based on mutual respect rather than subjugation. The hegemony flagship launched a barrage of energy weapons, targeting the Prometheus directly. Before they could connect, 3 hegemony cruisers moved into the path, their shields absorbing the attack. "Commander," the tactical officer reported with astonishment, "the Palladian contingent of the hegemony fleet is protecting us." The Palladians, a species known for their strict adherence to ethical principles, had been reluctant partners in the hegemony for millennia. Their commander opened a channel to both fleets. "The High Council must answer for its actions," the Palladian declared. "This conflict was initiated through deception and escalated through prohibited means. We stand with humanity's call for reform." Over the next 6 hours, the hegemony coalition fractured. What had been intended as a display of overwhelming force became the catalyst for rebellion among long-suppressed member species. The Supreme Overseer's vessel retreated through an emergency fold jump, along with their most loyal followers. In the aftermath, representatives from 14 formerly hegemony-aligned species requested diplomatic talks with humanity. The balance of power that had defined the galaxy for thousands of years had shifted in a single day. 1 month later, Commander Riker stood in the newly constructed Alliance chamber on Lunar Base Armstrong. Representatives from 22 spacefaring civilizations gathered for the signing of the Proxima Accords, establishing principles of cooperation and mutual defense that would form the foundation of a new interstellar community. "This is just the beginning," Zara said, joining him at the observation window overlooking the Earth. "The hegemony still controls vast territories. They're regrouping, adapting." "Let them," Riker replied. "They've lost something more important than a battle. They've lost their aura of inevitability. Every world under their control now knows alternatives exist." As delegates from across known space mingled, sharing knowledge, culture, and technology long suppressed by hegemony restrictions, Riker reflected on humanity's unique path. They had entered the galactic stage not as conquerors or subjects, but as catalysts for change. "We've always been good at defying expectations," he said. "It's what humans do best." Beyond the lunar base, the Ghost Fleet maintained its vigilant patrol, silhouettes barely visible against the star-filled backdrop. Not just defenders of Earth anymore, but guardians of a fragile, newfound freedom that was spreading across the stars. The hegemony had awakened humanity to the realities of galactic politics, never suspecting that humans would rewrite the rules of the game. Whatever challenges lay ahead, one truth had been established beyond doubt: humanity would not be underestimated again.